I'm bagging this bitch!
Alright, hello there, Blanek here. I figured I'm gonna make an update to the build since so many of you loved the build from the previous video. So I just basically figured that I'll show you what I've made some changes. I have optimized the build a little bit with some weapon swap, so we do a little bit more damage to bosses and we have way much more clear now because I invested a little bit more into AoE. I will also make a video for a budget version of this build, as this current setup I believe is somewhere around 600-800 divines that I invested into the build. Like for example the ring, I have a new ring, it was like 200 divines. So it is pretty starting to get expensive at this point. But this is the kind of stuff that happens when the longer you play, the longer the league lasts, just the better gear you get, the longer the grind. So I'm gonna start over with the gear. The weapon hasn't changed, it's still the same with the crit, some attack speed, and especially we need the extra physical damage. So weapon is still the same. The new addition is the ring. It was quite expensive, but I do have here cold damage and physical damage. Physical damage is a T1 and cold damage is a T2. The third one like fire or lightning, that doesn't really matter, to be honest. You can even get extra cold damage, something like that. I mean, not extra, increased cold damage for your Herald of Ice. That will be also fine. And of course, resistances are also important. Helmet, I think helmet is still the same. We still have crit, some resistances, a decent amount of evasion and energy shield. Amulet is definitely the new one. I think I bought this for 80 divines, so it wasn't too expensive. But we have fire resistance plus 3 to melee and a lot of energy shield, which is huge, and global defenses, and a little bit crit. I was quite lucky with the desecration, though it is a T5, could be better. But Omens of Light are too expensive, so I'm not gonna be, you know, gambling. Also, the Ball Circle ring is new, as before I had increased critical bonus with mana, now I have increased critical bonus with 30% increased damage. This one I don't really remember how much I paid, I think it was 20 divines, so it wasn't too expensive. But if we try to search something similar, if anything would even pop up. No, that's a shame. Oh, you do have. There are still options, cheap options, to get a similar rank to... Oh, this one is quite nice for 20 divines, 11 days ago. So you still have options to increase your damage with the double corruption. So it's not that bad. Gloves are also new, so we still are aiming for the +2 to melee. But now we have a T1 cold to attacks and a T2 to physical, which is gonna also improve our damage, and it's gonna improve the Herald chaining, as we want a lot of physical and a lot of cold damage for the Herald. And also I swapped the leech, mana leech, from the ring to gloves, because on gloves you just get way more amount of leech, like 8%. That's a huge difference. The Headhunter, still the same, nothing new. I do believe Headhunters are right now much cheaper. Like, you can get yourself a Headhunter for 6 divines, so you can't tell me that I can't get a Headhunter, it's too expensive. It's 6 divines. Look, with 2 charms, it's 6 divines. What do you mean? And a Headhunter makes the mapping a whole different experience, because you can get more damage from rare monsters, you get more AoE, you can get aura haste, movement speed. It just makes a whole lot of difference. But if you still don't want to use the Headhunter, you can get a Ingenuity belt with 30% or 29%. They're going for 3 to 5 divines, which is gonna increase your damage and resistances from your ring, so it's also nice to have. And the boots also with resistances and movement speed. One thing I have changed with the charms, basically the fall of the axe is still the same, and for the immunity to be frozen, but I've noticed the build suffers from bleeding, so I got myself a bleeding charm with increased charges, and we get a guard once the bleeding procs, so we don't have to worry about that. And this charm is definitely much better than the stun immunity, as there's no mob in the game possible while mapping that is able to hit us, because we kill stuff off screen before they're able to attack us. So I highly recommend getting a bleeding ring, because there are some situations that a skeleton archer with bleeding will be able to hit you, and then you bleed in, you don't notice. You won't die from bleeding, but it is quite annoying because of this note that we have 40% increased attack damage while on full life. When we do take bleeding damage, we are not on full life, so we lose 40% increased damage. And sometimes that is annoying. So gear is still the same. I have still the same anointment, again 10% extra physical damage. It's just 3 damage, and it does help the Herald also. Now, with the skills, there are some changes. So, I have Whirlwind Assault now on weapon set number 1. Charge Staff is on weapon set number 2. Flicker Strike is on weapon set number 2. And Mantra Destruction, it doesn't matter, it's on both weapon sets. Now, the one thing I noticed, that when I have Charge Staff on weapon set number 2, when I activate it, I don't have the charge staff active on weapon set number 1, but when I change the charge staff to weapon set number 1, I do have it on Whirlwind Assault, but then in bosses I don't have it on weapon set number 2 on Flicker Strike. And now I don't know if this is a bug or how to fix it, to be honest, but at this point my build with my current gear and setup is doing so much damage that honestly on weapon set number 1 I don't really need the charge staff. Even before, I was doing enough damage that I barely used charge staff in maps. The only time I used it was for the video showcase while mapping. So I don't really need it, but yeah, I don't know if it's a bug or something, because if I activate charge staff, it should be working on my weapon, but it really at this point doesn't matter. So with the support gems, I believe nothing significant changed here, if anything at all, but I'll still go over everything. So in Whirlwind Assault I have Practice Combo, Rage 3, Beatrie Belfo. Yeah, but I'm not really that. Vengeance. Yeah, we get extra cold for our Rage. Magnified Area 2 and Cold Attunement. Flicker Strike has Close Combat, Hit and Run, Concentrated Area, Blindside, and Perpetual Charge. Mantra of Destruction has A-Leaves Chimes, Charge Perfusion 2, Delayed Gratification, Prolonged Duration, and Chaos Mastery. Charge Staff has Prolonged Duration 2, Concentrated Area, Oisin's Oath. This is so we make leech mana also from physical damage as elemental damage. Though at this point I don't think we really need this, as charge staff is only used for bosses, so we delete bosses so fast that we don't use basically any mana, but I'm just keeping it. I do have Embitter for some more cold damage and freeze. That doesn't happen too often with charge staff, but it does add up to Flicker Strike. But it's only handy at this point. It's only handy when I'm doing a pinnacle boss in a party that scales up the life of the boss. It does give me a higher chance to freeze them. And the last one is blind, so we blind enemies, so the Flicker Strike does more damage with blindside. Charge Perfusion, I do have Untread Exile use for the +3 to skill level. Cast on Crit, we have Profane Ritual, Boundless Energy 2, Energy Retention, Overabundance. You want Overabundance 1, because this one gives you 50% less skill effect duration. Overabundance 2 gives you 40, and we want as much percent of less skill effect duration, because that's gonna make the Profane Ritual faster. And Charge for Perfusion 2. Herald of Ice, nothing changed, it's still the same setup. We have Armor Break 3, Armor Explosion, Magnified Area 2, and Cold Attunement with Uruk Smelting. Now, I have explained how the Herald Chain Explosion works in the previous video. I'll have the link down below for you to check it out. So, Wind Dancer is Magnified Area 2, Armor Explosion, Armor Break 3, Armor Demolition 2, and Blind 2. Ghost Dance, Compressed Duration, Vitality 1, Precision 2, Cool-Headed, and Warm-Blooded. Alright, so to the passive, and there are a couple changes here. Mainly we are using now 12 points for our weapon swap. So nothing here of a change, just these two nodes are now with weapon set number 1 for Whirlwind Assault. And going up here, getting more AoE. This one also gives us reduced accuracy rating, but that doesn't matter. We have a lot of dexterity, and you can also get accuracy from gear. And this one gives you reduced critical hit chance, but that also doesn't matter, because we are either way getting items with crit chance or quarterstaff with crit chance. So the 20% less crit chance on weapon set number 1 for Whirlwind Assault doesn't make a difference. Where do I else have more for weapon set number 1? At the very bottom, pathing over here, mainly for the Herald. So down here we get 40% increased cold damage. That's only for the Herald. I don't care about the Warden Assault. while it does give us some damage, but I'm more concerned about the Herald, so it does more damage. So that's weapon set number 1. And weapon set number 2, I've put 2 points over here for extra critical bonus damage. There's 1 point over here for more extra critical bonus. There's 1 point over here. There's also 1 point over here. There are 2 points over here for more extra critical damage. And I've pathed for weapons number 2 over here to get the 10% chance not to remove charges but still count as consuming them. This is very powerful, as we can in boss fights flicker more without removing the charges. So that's the weapon set, and that's the passage tree. I'll go over with the jewels. The Heart of the Well, nothing changed here, it's still the same jewel with mana cost efficiency, critical bonus and hit chance, and extra cold damage. The Megalomaniac is still the same, we have one with the Storm, which is this one over here, and the extra 8% as physical damage, which is over here. But this jewel has changed. Basically the same stats almost, with the crit and increased critical bonus, but with max now. We have 7% critical hit chance and 10% I was able to get with increased global defenses. I was aiming to get one with 3% to global defenses, but the starting prices for those were 800 divines, and yeah, that's not in my budget, and it will never be in my budget. And also I would never spend that amount on a single item. So this one was just 170 divines. It's still a lot, don't get me wrong, it's still a lot of divines for a jewel, but at this point I'm literally min-maxing the character in the ways I can. So I do have also a large radius which affects more around here. So yeah, that's the jewel. So at this point I believe the build is finished. I'll do one extra video. Gonna try to make the build as cheap as possible, in the range of, let's say, 5 to 10 divines, maybe less, depending on the prices of the market right now, because the stuff I had on the previous video, they were cheaper when I bought them. I had stuff I bought like for a couple divines, but then I checked for similar stuff a week later, they went like in price 10 times. So if I were to, for example, search this ring, which I bought like 4 days ago, maybe a day after the previous video I posted, this is probably going to be 3 times the price now. So it's just crazy what's happening on the market. And I do understand that when I post a video, someone watches it, you guys think, yeah, this is a cool build, but like for me to get similar items, it's impossible because they are starting at 200 divines. I do understand that. So that's why I'm going to try to make a separate video for like a starter build to make this character, and from that point you're just basically going to be slowly progressing and upgrading your character with better gear when you get more divines or other currency, or if you get lucky you craft something good. So that's the plan, and I'll post it maybe tomorrow or in 2 days, I think, if I do find the time and other stuff. But yeah, so far that's the build, and I'll see you soon.